I was born and raised in Paris, France, but traveling a lot. My family always traveled. So my father's Lebanese and my mom's American, so we either went to California or Beirut, or of course the UAE. I consider a lot of places home, and I think that's a benefit because if you want to give back to a community, but the whole world is your community, then you kind of have a lot of options to choose from. I studied marketing in university, marketing and communications. I learned how to sell a toothbrush or Justin Bieber or a political candidate or an idea. My brother's a music producer, so I helped him with branding and marketing. I was working in my family's company, which is publishing, so a lot of media and magazine work. I worked at a jewelry store too, but I worked at a bakery. I was working at a bakery in Paris, like an American bakery, where you get to make all those like cool, cakes, like the American wedding cakes that you see on TV. And I wasn't even getting paid for it, but I loved it. I was working 45 hours a week and doing school at the same time. I was doing a little bit of marketing for them, but then working in the kitchen as well. And so I thought I wanted to go into F&B and move to Dubai and then, start a bakery. And that was my mission when I first moved here. I just graduated university and I was traveling for about 6 months before I was going to kind of buckle down and work. And with one of my closest friends from university, we were just kind of talking, and she's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life. And so I was just kind of telling her, oh God, I can't wait, for you to be so successful in your life and to see what you become. And she was telling me, something similar. And then she kind of looked and said, why wait? Why do we have to wait to kind of be successful in the future and see what we're gonna do? Let's help each other now, see what we can build together. So we kind of bounced around a few ideas. She was working in the startup space in New York. She was telling me about the startup space that she was working with and the tech industry in general. And then specifically coming on to angel investing, right? And so it was this type of investment that's super early stage. So you're investing in small teams and groups of people that are building their business really from the ground up. If it's a product, then the prototype's being built, or if it's a website, then they're just designing it. But the people are still really, really passionate at this part of the company stage. Now, for some reason, right, call me a hippie and like the girl who used to work in cakes and was like an artist. I was oil painting in Paris and anti-finance, banking, just that was for people who'd lost their soul. But I was so fascinated by this subject, by angel investors, by people who were there offering not only financial help, but people that were offering mentorship and people who were strong enough to really understand what their worth was, more than just on a financial side. They were helping these companies grow and helping these individual people. So it was finance, but from a personal point of view. And then it clicked. Like, what does the Middle East need? It needs knowledgeable, informed investing. So we said, okay, we're going to come into this. We're going to streamline the investment process in the Middle East so that people know what they're investing in, know what they're expecting, and the investor can become as intelligent as the entrepreneur. Right? The whole ecosystem can benefit. So the ecosystem benefits, the economy grows, and on top of that, you start seeing, I think jobs getting created. Every angel investment creates an average of 4 jobs. So you can imagine that if I have a group of 20 investors and each one of them invested once in their lifetime, that has a massive impact on their communities. But if each one of them invested 10 times and then the group keeps growing and it grows across the Middle East, then that has a massive impact on the entire ecosystem and the entire community in the region. That's what was fascinating to us. It was on a personal level. It wasn't all about the money. It was about sharing knowledge as well. And it was really about the impact that it had. We moved to Abu Dhabi and then saw that the movers and the shakers were we're in Dubai, but we still love Abu Dhabi, so we live there and we work here. Started a company at the time that was going to be called United Arab Angels, and at least on my end, I was really, really nervous. So it wasn't my space. Like I said, I'm not a finance person at all, and so I was just learning this industry, and I was trying to build a brand and a market around what already exists, right? So if you look at the United States, you have Sequoia Angels or Empire Angels, and they're very, or New York Angels, right? And they're very cut and dry names. They look like banks, or they're very corporate, and we're not corporate. We're 20-something entrepreneurs from the US and from France and from Lebanon and from all over the place, and we're not corporate, so we couldn't be something that we weren't. So for a couple months we were struggling building that brand, although we were analyzing the market and building the company. After about 6 weeks we started realizing that we were the only women in most of the meetings that we went to. We were the only women in any of the events. We said, I think we should build a group for women. And women are very capable, they're very educated, they're very strong and knowledgeable, and they have extensive networks in this region, and that makes them perfect angel investors. But the way that the entire system and society is set up makes it a very masculine space. When you go into finance and you go into technology, there are very few women, and not because they're incapable, but just because there's no platforms for them to join. So we rebranded, we started Wamina. We focused on attaining women, and women that were strong and that wanted to give back to their communities, and that were motivated and that were active and that inspired us. And I come out of every meeting that I have with these women even more excited and inspired than I was before I got there. Now, we're about a few months after we've launched, and we've already invested in 2 companies. We have members coming all the way from San Francisco or Turkey or Kuwait or Bahrain or Dubai or Lebanon or the US or London, and they're all just wonderful, incredible powerhouses of women, and it's exciting. It's really rewarding, I guess, to be doing that. There's a gut feeling that what you're doing is right. I think since I started with my business partner, we were having good meeting after good meetings, and it felt right. And every time we'd make a decision that would kind of shift the company in one direction, it just made it feel better and stronger. And we've definitely come at the right place at the right time. To not confine yourself to any sort of idea or societal system, to not be afraid to look beyond what you think is good and what you think is right and what you think is your own path. I was able to find a completely different path than I ever would have imagined for me, just by being open to it. And it's incredibly fulfilling and scary to a degree, but really exciting. And I think that a lot of people are maybe too scared to be explorers nowadays, but hopefully in the future they'll be more open to it. Since I've come into this space, and since I've been able to meet role model after role model and strong woman after strong woman, I've seen a number of incredibly inspiring women that are killing it. Like they're such incredible people, and they're really making moves in the region. And I think because of this negative stereotype that the world has towards the Middle East, and specifically, women in the Middle East, or some sort of women's oppression in the Middle East, that kind of makes us the underdogs and makes us poised for, some sort of golden age of women's empowerment in the Middle East. And I wouldn't be surprised if, that trend is something that really continues to grow. If you start seeing women leaders coming out of the Middle East and coming out of the GCC, really shaping the world, because governments are putting a lot of effort into inspiring and empowering women here, in government jobs and minister positions and STEM programs. Even in Saudi, there's incredible things that are really, really happening, and these women will change the face of how people think of the Middle East. And so I think that that's something that's really going to shine in the next few decades. Together we can do it.